Hello, magical humans. Welcome yet again to Weekly Storytelling Time with Untie Mac, otherwise known as Sam McIntyre Etheridge. I'm so glad that you are here and that we are here together in this magical, sparkly place. And the two things that I would like to briefly speak about this week are the eclipse that's happening tomorrow, Wednesday, May 26th, as well as our names. Stories with both, of course. So, story number one for the eclipse tomorrow. So, eclipses are like super duper intense energy, like the energy of the moon and the sun are being obstructed by shadow when there is an eclipse happening, whether it's a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse. And in the week leading up to the eclipse and also the week afterwards, but especially Wednesday, the energy is very shadowy, very heavy, draining, just intense, just like for real intense energy. So that's important for everyone because we tend to be pretty hard on ourselves whenever we're not feeling at 100%. Maybe we think we should be able to work harder, do more, think less terrible thoughts, etc. And I just wanted to normalize and validate that if you've been having a particularly difficult time this past week, or you feel this like heavy, shadowy, kind of intense energy building either within you or maybe around you, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? That could be what is happening. So there's nothing wrong with you. You haven't done anything wrong whatsoever. This is just a really intense time of the year, eclipse season. So this is the first eclipse of, I believe, 3 over the summertime. So just please have grace with yourself. But I wanted to bring in the eclipse one for that reminder. And I know for myself, I have definitely been feeling that energy this past week. I had the privilege to take a week-long vacation. I was in beautiful Palm Springs in Southern California on Coahuila land, and there are 2 cards that I want to share with you. So I pulled cards throughout my trip. It was a very inspiring trip. I got a lot of art making done, got a lot of downloads. However, a lot of that was coming from shadow parts of my experience, and both with, relationship dynamics that keep repeating, with ancestral lineages that keep showing up, both medicine but also toxicity. So there was just like a lot, and I was like, man, like, am I gonna be able to fucking catch a break? Like, thank God I'm on vacation, because I don't know if I could handle this if I had anything else going on. So at the beginning of this trip, I pulled the Soul Harvest card from the Living Altar, one of my favorite decks, an Oracle and Spellbook deck for the Radical Witch by Kiki Robinson and Valdroma Marzana Radoskiewski. Soul Harvest. This is like, to me, this is eclipse energy. So Soul Harvest card is associated with North, with Earth, with winter time. It is the final card in the Witch's Wheel, which is what the Living Altar is based off of. So seasons of life, stations of the moon, seasons, elements, all of those things. And the Soul Harvest card, you can tell you've got a spider going on, spider associated with our purpose, like weaving our web of what we're meant to contribute to the world, how we're in part of this interconnected web, this vast universal puzzle that our existence is a part of, and it's a necessary part of. And you'll also see some fruit in here, the apple. Maybe these are some pomegranates. I'm not so sure, but both are very pagan fruits. The pomegranate being associated with Persephone's journey into the underworld. And underworld being this metaphor for our shadow parts, for the parts of ourselves that maybe we've lost, that we've forgotten, maybe our fragmented trauma parts that, for really smart reasons, our body had to fragment its psyche in order to survive whatever overwhelming traumatic experiences we've gone through. Then we've got this fire being transformation, ritual, cleansing, this thing that can help us change from one form to another. And then you see these shadowy figures, our ancestors, the spirits, our chosen family, our different parts of ourselves, our guardians, whomever, dancing, celebrating around the fire. So what this card invites us into, and what the eclipse tends to bring up, is our shadow. Are those cycles we're trying to break, are maybe parts of our history, not even just in this lifetime, but again in our ancestral baggage, what we've inherited, the experiences of our ancestors, blood, spirit, adopted, etc. They might present themselves. It's almost like if there was an earthquake and then there's this whole like shadowy cave that's now been exposed to explore. So the Soul Harvest card I really like because it's speaking to that shadow, which can be really intense and scary sometimes, but also they're celebrating. They're having a harvest. That means there's nourishment here. There's resource here. There's work, cultivation, something that's been building and growing, and now it's at fruition and now can be plucked and used into the body and composted into the land and go back into this beautiful, never-ending cycle of life and death. So it's actually very celebratory. So that's one piece. And then what's interesting is at the end of the trip, so I re-pulled this card today before getting onto this call, and I was like, that's awesome. And then, but this was at the bottom of the deck, which can, again, usually symbolize the shadow, the unconscious, the parts that are wanting to come forth into our consciousness that we're ready to process or be with or make art out of or talk with our friends about or talk with our therapist about or whatever avenue works for you. Our journal, make a song, dance about it. And then the second card that was on the top of what I just pulled was the emergence card. And I pulled this card when I was leaving. Like, I think it was my last day or maybe second to last day before leaving the trip. So I just love that these two have reappeared again. And the emergence card is, so this is like the end of the cycle. This is like death card, basically. And this is birth card, rebirth. This is emergence, which is associated with spring, the element of air, the direction of east, of rebirth, of beginnings, of something coming forth, coming out of the darkness, coming into the light. You see these candles here again. So again, we have the element of fire present, and fire being that creative, transformative energy. So I do feel like the medicine of these cards are something to take with you if it's useful for you to navigate this eclipse this week, because the energy is going to be here for a minute, is how can you, one, celebrate your shadow? Does that mean setting some time to just be with yourself and rest? How can you rest? Like, how does celebrating or harvesting look like for you? Maybe that looks like spending the day on the beach, unplugged, don't even bring your phone with you. Maybe that looks like, having a really nourishing, like Disney Channel original movie marathon with your inner child. Just what does this look like for you? Because the eclipse is going to be heavy energy, so we really want to be kind to ourselves. Things are going to take longer. We're not going to have as much energy. That's just a reality. But then with this emergence card, which is also associated with childhood, and that kind of innocent child wonderment. And so I wonder, in this celebration, in how you're making space for your soul, for your spirit, what is emerging for you around how your inner child wants to be taken care of? What would feel really nourishing to them? How can you cozy up with them and make them feel safe, make them feel seen, make them feel like they're allowed to rest, that they don't have to keep doing their homework, or that they don't have to wake up so early for school? They can skip school. Like, what would skipping school look like for you? So those are those two cards that I wanted to share with you for storytelling time. And the second story is just our name. And perhaps this can somehow weave into what's emerging for you, or in the soul harvest card, like what's in your shadow. So our names carry so much story. So maybe journaling about where your name comes from. What does your name mean? My, full name is Samantha McIntyre Etheridge. Samantha meaning listener. McIntyre meaning craftsman. It's a Irish Scottish. It's a Gaelic name, and McIntyre meaning craftsperson. Etheridge, I'm not really working with my Etheridge lineage right now, so I would have to look up exactly what Etheridge means. I do know it is of English descent. So our names tell stories about ourselves, how we got named. That can be a portal into doing some ancestral remembrance, if that's some work that you're interested in. And also the power of renaming ourselves and reclaiming what we want to be called and how we want to be named. I know for myself, because I have been deepening into my McIntyre lineage, something that I felt connected with since I was a child, again, that like emergence energy, I have not really been going by my last name, Etheridge. I've been going by McIntyre, which was my grandmother, Anne McIntyre, Granny Main, her maiden name, which she also changed back to. And that means a lot to me. And keeping that name alive, and the place that name is associated with, coastal Maine. So there's so much in our names that can help us look at what we've inherited through our ancestry, both the medicine and the shadow. And in terms of first names, I have many names, many nicknames: Sam, Sammy, Sammy Mac, Mick Sam, all these different things. And I really have been feeling drawn to Mac recently. And I know that this will change over time. And I just wanted to let you all know that. So if you hear me referring to myself as Mac, or on the podcast or wherever, I am referring to myself, and it's in honor of my McIntyre lineage. It's just what feels good right now. So I invite you to feel into, well, what would feel good for you around your name? How do you want to be called? Maybe you already feel very solid in your name and what it means to you, and maybe there's some stories that you can uncover about it. So those are your stories this week for Storytelling Time with Untie Mac, and I am sending you all so much love and rest and protection during this shadowy week. Bye.